Nickie, Gio, thanks ever so much for joining us this afternoon. I thought I would start with a bit of a broad question for you both. And what is it that you think that that trade shows like the FiT Show add to the momentum of innovation?
So I go first, Nickie, or you?
You go first.
In terms of momentum, what it does, I can speak for myself. It kind of, when you're designing something, you've got, or you're designing innovation, spending all that time and effort, and it's a lot of effort. Is that you've got something to look forward to. So okay, I've got a platform at the end of this where I can go and show people, but it's not just a couple of people; it's a big audience. And then also, how it kind of motivates you and keeps momentum going in innovation is that all the innovation that you've done doesn't go to waste. You and me, or it doesn't take a long time to spread the word or take the innovation out. Going door to door, which takes a long time, and invariably you're not going to get to see everyone. Sometimes you might get to see the cleaner one day, and sometimes you might get to see the procurement director, and sometimes if you're really lucky you get to see the director. But somewhere like the FiT Show, you'll always get to see the top table, which is hyper important. That that's for me, that I can answer it the best way I can. Yeah.
And I'd agree with that. I think that companies use trade exhibitions, FiT Show being the one we're talking about today, I think they use them as a milestone on NPD. So everything's leading to those 3 open days. I think that's an important point. And I also think that unlike any other marketing proposition, exhibitions engage all the senses. So it's a real opportunity to see, smell, touch, feel, and connect with new products. So I think that's really the role they play.
Well, actually, if you want to broaden that, because I was very specific in my reply, because you were saying what does it do to momentum of innovation. The FiT Show does a lot more than just momentum. Obviously, it also it's a place where you can tell the buying or public, I say, businesses, or show what kind of brand you are.
Yeah.
Like what we did last year at Smart Ready. It's a way of actually selling more than just the innovation. It's selling the product and the brand behind the innovation. So when you see a product developed by Smart Ready or Hug or any one of my companies, you don't just only see the innovation, you see the inspiration around the brand, which you're never ever going to do that in any amount of marketing. You might be able to do it with TV advertising, but how much is that going to cost compared to like a show? And you still won't even get that even with TV advertising, because you don't get the obviously the touchy-feely part of what the show does, what the FiT Show does.
Absolutely. Yeah. What does it mean for trade shows to have such driving innovators like Smart Ready and Hug?
What does it mean?
Well, I know what it means to me. I know what it means to FiT Show.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, it in 2019, you really did set the bar in terms of the innovation, the whole way it was presented, the whole way it was marketed before. What I try and talk to exhibitors about often is extending the shelf life of a show and making it mean something from the very minute you contract to participate, linking up all your comms, all your marketing activity. And I never had that conversation with you, Gio, but I clearly didn't need to, because you picked it up. And for some of the exhibitors, I think, were really stood there in open mouth shock at the physical demonstration of you as a business. Was so stunning. It was all people were talking about. I mean, the press coverage and everything that happened post-show was an indication of, it brings the brand to life, our brand to life, and sets the bar. So for me, it was one of the most important factors, and perhaps you'd think I would say this, wouldn't I? But I wouldn't, is that it was one of the most important milestones for us in FiT Show, and it was down to the fact that you made the product the champion. the design was so clean and stunning. So it meant a huge amount. And from a visitor perspective, I think I can answer it that you gave people a really strong reason to come back again the next time, because they saw innovation physically, and they'll be thinking, oh, it blew their socks off, so they'll come back. And that's really, visitor retention is massively important for shows. So the fact that we know that you will bring visitors back because they have such high expectations of you now is vital.
So what was the question again? I forgot. What was the question again, Amy?
What are you saying? I'm talking too much.
No, I just forgot. I just,
it was,
I was so engaged in what you were saying, Nickie. I just looked at everything and it become cloudy and muddy.
the question was, what does it mean for trade shows to have such driving innovators exhibiting?
Well, I think Nickie answered it in great detail, but from my perspective, what does it mean for trade shows? It means everything. Because if there's no innovation or nothing new to show, why would people turn up? You know, it's very basic. The why there, no reason whatsoever, unless it's just for a piss up. But you know, you can do that in different ways. But that's not enough. You know, there was a time where, you know, before the FiT show, what was it? Was it
Glass X.
Glass? Was it? What was it called?
Glass X.
Glass X. That's it. Where it was just turning into an annual kind of booze up. And whilst that's, you know, it's fun, it's not very business-like. So yeah, absolutely 100% important that, you know, people or businesses innovate and bring their products to the FiT show. And without innovation, there are no shows.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nickie, you mentioned the Smart Ready stand from last year, and it really was a bit sexy. What I mean, you will have seen stand designs change over the years, and what have you noticed? How have those stands influenced the exhibitors around them and the other businesses at the trade show?
Well, I think from a FiT show perspective, it's been known in the exhibition world as a big build show. So all the exhibitors, well, most of the exhibitors have gone the extra mile. But basically, what I loved about the Smart Ready stand, and what I think it was a fantastic example of, is going back to what I was saying, is it made product the champion. It was innovative, fresh, clean. And I think a lot of exhibitors who traditionally would have spent a huge amount on building, as an example, double-decker stand, which I've always incidentally thought was a waste of money, looked at it and thought that they're going to start thinking differently about it, because the wow factor is not just about the size of a stand, you know, which I think a lot of the exhibitors in the FiT industry think, well, I've got to have the biggest stand, and it's not about that. It's about what you do with it. So I think the answer is that 2019 and Smart Ready have given people a lot to think about.
Yeah, it's not about necessarily the size of the stand. It's about design. Design is everything, and you can have the same effect with half, you know, of the stand size of someone else's, but have the right design on it. You do need to think through it. You know, you shouldn't be just cluttering stands, because the more clutter you have on the stand, so the bigger and the more stuff you want to kind of cram in, you actually works as a negative, because the mind only processes so much information. So if you're trying to show lots of product and lots of, you know, windows and lots of patios, doors, what you're doing is that the mind can't, especially after going to the FiT show, because they've already gone on to maybe 10 or 15 other stands, the brain starts shutting down. So you need a way of designing that stand, you know, not necessarily big, you know, whatever it is, small, medium, large, whatever you put on there, it's got to be very simple messages where the brain can process the information very quickly. And then clearly you want to do that. It's a win-win, but people are scared of, you know, white space, you know, that's what it is. And they shouldn't be scared of white space. They should be confident. Yeah.
I think there's also a lot of people are so focused of, as you said, you know, putting product on and getting as much information as they can. But what gets lost is the user experience, is that UX design element, because of course the exhibitors are not in fact there really to show off. It's more about people to see, and I know that's two sides of the same coin almost, but as you say, Gio, if people are overwhelmed, how are they going to take in any of what this does?
It's not, no, I need to be clarified. It's not people overwhelmed, it's the brain becomes overwhelmed.
Right, yeah, oh, that's
They're not even aware of it. It's a subconscious thing.
yes,
That's,
exactly.
you know, that design, it's just the brain processes all the information, all the peripheral vision processes information. You don't know it's happening, but the brain is constantly going through all these calculations, working out all the colors, or, you know, all the objects, and then your brain just shuts down. It stops seeing, and that's not, you can't do anything about that. That's, you know, that's innate. That's in all of us. So you do need to find a way of actually looking into the psychology of how people look at things. I mean, if you come into my home, not particularly now because it's like a warehouse, but normally you walk into my home, you think I've moved out. Because it's so clean. There's nothing, literally, I'm not allowed anything on the sides. There's no pictures on the wall, no photos, no nothing. It feels like, oh, is someone moving in today? I mean, someone moving in. That's what it looks like. Because for me, it helps me declutter my brain so I can see clearly, much clearly, when I haven't got things to look at. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nickie, the choice was to not have a 2020 show, and so we've moved it back to next year now. What do you think that break or that space is going to give to the exhibitors and also the visitors?
Well, obviously, I'm going to need to make a mention of the dreaded COVID. I think that what we have all craved is face-to-face human connection. And I think that FiT Show in our industry, in our sector, will be a beacon for that. I think people will be desperate to get back to business, get back to meeting people, seeing things. So really it's about that. And I think also the brands that are exhibiting at FiT Show 21 are going to be proving to the world that they've weathered this storm and that they are fit for business. So I think there's going to be I think it's probably going to be the best show we've ever had. I would say that, wouldn't I? But I really believe that because I think there's been such a real hunger to reconnect.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah, I think certainly. I think everyone's ready for it. Having obviously the pandemic kind of put a halt on all our lives, and hopefully, like other companies, like myself, they've all innovated. It would be great for them to go somewhere, meet, have a beer, and then see some great products, and and plan the next few years. And there's definitely going to be change. People have done I've looked at the pandemic and seen what the kind of the spin-off ramifications are of that. There should be products that kind of cater, for these things happening in the future, or maybe what happens if you're at home more, because obviously everyone's life's changed now, and it's going to change now for the foreseeable future. So hopefully, there'll be some products at the FiT Show where it shows, or some people have thought about what happens if people live at home more often, which obviously windows and doors are a big part of it when you're at home. We've all seen it at the moment. I think most fabricators will agree. There's been a massive spike in orders because people are staying at home. So it's hyper important, the show next year, really is. I don't like spending too much money. I don't think anyone does as a business, especially having 3 months of non-trade. But I think it will be an unwise company not to attend the show next year. Nickie, I can have a discount for that afterwards. Yeah,
I'm going to give you a job in a minute.
Yeah, no, on a serious note, it will be
Thank you for that.
It'll be unwise. I love competition. I love seeing innovation. I think the industry as a whole has to kind of pull itself out from the ground. Let's face it, the industry hasn't been known in the past, for innovation. It tends to copy people, and on top of that, it tends to always go after the cheapest product. But I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing people now looking at it differently. With China getting a big smack on the back of the hand. I think people are now starting to maybe look, from within and say, well, okay, how do we focus, on improving our product range, and how do we not always want to sell cheap? I really believe that, and I think the same next year. The FiT Show will be something where you're going to see a lot of interesting products, not just in what I do in smart products or hardware. I think there's going to be some really exciting stands out there. Probably curveballs where wouldn't ordinarily attend a window and door kind of show. Would that be correct, Nickie? Have you got some?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that the installer audience, for instance, are going to be looking at ways of pivoting their businesses. They're going to be looking for new ideas to expand their businesses. So yeah, I reckon that we've had a load of inquiries, for instance, bizarrely, decking companies. It's like, and I think because homeowners obviously are spending a lot more time in their homes, they're now working from home. They've upped their game. They want more and they want different. So, and they've now got the money to spend on it because they haven't been on holiday. So I think that a lot of our installers are going to be looking at ways of increasing their business. So I think that's going to be great. I think house builders, again, I think they're going to be looking for different rather than just, as you said, Gio, buying price.
Have you got a breakdown? FiT Show got a breakdown of what attendance there are in terms of installers, house builders, and fabricators?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we haven't traditionally. Well, we've got room to improve our installer attendance, definitely. And I think that a lot of that goes down to we need to practice what we preach. So at the moment, I've got an agency looking at brand review on FiT Show. Talking to a lot of people across the industry, exhibitors and visitors, because I want to make sure that the messaging we're using for the different sectors are striking relevance. I think that we've been a bit guilty of being a one size fits all and not necessarily recognizing the USPs in terms of the separate audience sectors. So yeah, weirdly enough, we're looking at that right now. In fact, Gio, we want to talk to you about that. I want the agency to talk to you.
Okay.
And I sent you an email which you didn't respond to.
I don't look at it. No, I think you said Amy, you said something about, did you receive the email? I didn't receive no email.
I'll email it again.
Let's have domestics later, shall we?
No.
Just to finish up, so obviously Germany has Fensterbauen, of course. The American trade shows just go on for miles and miles and miles. You can get lost within those shows. What is it that you think that the UK trade show and with FiT Show and the other shows, how do you think we stand up to our sort of bigger neighbours, and what is it that we offer that potentially they don't?
I think the word I'd use is focus, because like Gio was saying about stand design, it's the same with exhibitions. I mean, it's quite overwhelming. You go to Fensterbauen, for instance, and it is, well, when you go to Fensterbauen, it is massive. There is no way that as a visitor you could possibly even cover a tenth of it. It's just so massive. So I think UK shows, the big umbrella, massive be all things to all people, I think that era has gone. And I think more niche shows, vertical shows that are really sort of focused in on the sector they serve are going to be much, much more successful in the UK. So I think that's what it offers. I think also, and it's quite fortunate really, is that we're not claiming to be an international show at FiT Show. We do get some international audience, but our main audience is national. So it's a totally different animal. We don't really compete, and we wouldn't want to or couldn't. I mean, there aren't venues big enough for a start.
The UK is an island, and we always do things our way. That's just the British way. So when you compare us with Fensterbauen and Battimat, which I attended last year, which is not as big as Festival. I've never been to Festival, actually. I was going to go this year, but obviously, COVID stopped that. There is no comparison. In the UK, especially in the UK as well, what I did notice from UK to, let's say, the show I did in Batamat, is that everyone knows each other in the UK, whereas that's for Germany and France, they kind of tend to, not mingle with each other. The competitors, tend to hate each other. Whereas in the UK, there is, some chivalry and, and people get to know one another. And it's ultimately, the UK is run by a handful of people, by a handful of super fabricators and brand leaders, so it doesn't need to be as big. Like I go back, it's an island. It's not, Festival does the whole of Europe. You've got France the same, that kind of into Europe. So England's it can't do, obviously. And the plus is not, well, England leads by design. There's not much manufactured in the UK, where there's still manufactured in Europe. So you can never draw a comparison. I tell you what I would like to have seen is that, maybe a fourth day at the FiT show, because last year it just went too quick. 3 days went really quick, and maybe a fourth day would have been better, in my opinion, and not necessarily the long days. I did Batamat last year, and I think that lasted a week, 5 days. That's
I don't think it's a bad shout. My dilemma around that is that if I was going to open a fourth day, I'd like it to be a weekend. I really think offering the installer the opportunity when they're off the tools to come along would be great. So therefore a Sunday. Yeah. But then you've got the downside of it, the next day being a Monday, which is traditionally not great news at trade shows. Huh?
Do it on a Saturday, finish on a Saturday. And then they can, stay out.
Open on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout, and it is something that I do think about.
I didn't have any time to see everyone. There are so many people that I missed, and okay, that a lot of people want to talk to me instead of the people on the stand, but I'm sure there are other people that will have that kind of problem. You literally don't run out of time. People come back. At the show, I had people come back 3 or 4 times, and I still didn't get to see them. So that will be my only kind of
Yeah, and I think also that goes back to you did a great job of sort of joining up the dots in terms of the way you started your whole campaign through the trade press and your PR comms and all of it linking to FiT show. And again, that goes back to what I was saying about extending the shelf life so that you start to see benefits of being part of the FiT show family right from the get-go, and that should carry on post-show. So I think that perhaps we could do more to make sure those connections are more solid, both before and after the show. So I think that we're both right. In other words, I think possibly we should look at extending the opening.
Yeah.
And but also work harder perhaps to encourage a more joined up thinking about being part of a show.
Do you have like a specific installer days or fabricator days? Because at Batamat they had that. They had like specific kind of days where a particular sector was more inclined to turn up, and so people knew how to prep for it. Whether people can come, obviously, if you're a fabricator, it means you can't come on an installer day, but it helps to focus people and say, okay.
We tried to do that a little bit on the content of the show, the learning program, so that there was specific benefits for installers on certain days. And we did it also, Geo, through doing things like the offer book that we created to encourage installers to come and get discounts and special benefits as a result of the show. So the problem we've got with the installer audience is it's so linked to weather. So 2019 we had amazing weather, and it had been preceded by dreadful weather. So you sort of have to go with the flow on that, in the sense that if it's great weather and it follows a period of terrible weather, your installer audience is going to drop. It's just fact. So we try, and I think that goes back to the personalisation of the campaign, so that we're talking to installers about what interests installers, rather than trying to just say, oh, FiT show, NEC, big. You know, we've got to really hone down our messaging a lot.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm hoping the brand review will give us some really good pointers.
Speaking about fence to bar, clearly there was none this year, so it's going to be interesting what people do and what the international companies do for next year. Are they going to wait another year before they kind of show the innovation? I don't know. No. I think it's a long time. It's 4 years now between shouts, and there's and the UK, not the world, is going through, you know, quite a big change, you know, in terms of COVID-19, but also in the smart world. You know, I would say that because I mean smart, but that's not, you know, you don't need to be in smart to know that there's a massive kind of momentum building, and the sooner the industry as a whole, you know, whatever sector they're doing, it doesn't have to be, you know, just on hardware. You know, you can do all types of things with smart now. The industry has to. I would like to see next year a show full of kind of smart innovations in whatever form that takes, whether it's through glass or hardware or paint or whatever, silicon, I don't know, whatever it is, you know, just whatever it is, you can apply smart on it. That's what sells. That's what will sell, and it will certainly sell over, you know, over the coming years. You know, the reason why it probably hasn't taken off as quickly as I would like is because we went back to the drawing board. So we used FiT 2019 as kind of as a bar to see what people wanted. Now, I thought the designs were great, which all worked great. The installation was there was a bit resistant towards the way they were fitted, but we've solved all that. So once we're ready, you know, we'll certainly be ready we're ready now, but we'll certainly be ready for 2021 FiT show. At that point, you know, once we're ready to roll, then I think you know, it will be like a snowball effect. It won't stop. And, you know, so my message to the people out there is that think smart, whatever sector you're in, you know, make sure there is a smart element of some kind on your stand. But it has to be credible. Don't lose credibility. You know, don't put smart on just for smart sake, you know, because you'll get caught out and people will know what you're up to. You know, definitely push to smart. And then
I think the 2 points you've made that are really interesting there is that fence to bar not happening. Those companies that were sort of plotting and planning their NPD for fence to bar, as you say, are not going to wait until 2022 to launch. So they're going to be using FiT more as a platform for that. And the second point I wanted to pick up on is, in terms of innovation, I think one of the things that this industry, and you've said it previously, has lacked is breathing new talent in. And what we're going to be trying to do on that is we're creating a 30 under 30 award, so that we're highlighting youth in the industry, but we're also going to be creating a new designer area for new talent, so linked to design. So basically, as you've mentioned, paint as an example of that, you know, we want to bring in new stuff with new people and innovation and young designers. So those are both things that we are definitely looking at.
Absolutely, support that. That's a good idea, you know, because it's design where it's at, you know, and people have to realize that. I can't express that enough. And hopefully, you know, the rest of the industry starts to pick up on that. If you're not in, you know, if you haven't got great designs, if you're not innovating, you will go backwards. It's a fact, you know.
Exactly.
You stop cycling, you fall off. You know, that's what it is. And that's what hopefully, you know, like the shows like the FiT show will do for the industry. You know, it takes us back to that first question. You know, what's the FiT show do for momentum and innovation? Is exactly that. You know, it's really important that we do it.
Yeah,
it's really important.
Yeah. Guys, thank you ever so much for your time this afternoon. It's been such an interesting conversation.
Thank you.
I am looking forward to seeing what next year has got. So I look forward to chatting to you both about it as time goes by and keeping an eye on things. And in the meantime, I wish you a very good week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks
See you soon.
so much.
Thanks, Bye.